Hi, I'm Steve Turpin. Thanks for tuning in to this month's podcast on Next Level Leadership. And our goal and what is in our heart to do is to help leaders raise up other leaders, to help managers on coaching their teams and putting the right teams together, helping you take your leadership to the next level. No matter if you're the CEO or CFO of your organization, or maybe you've just started at an entry-level position, everybody has some level of leadership. John Maxwell said this, that leadership is influence and simply nothing else. So if you're influencing somebody in any walk of life, then you're a leader. If you're influencing your family, influencing on the job, your church, your ministry, whatever it might be, then you have leadership in your life. And what we all want, no matter how long we've been at it, we want to take our leadership to the next level. And that's what we set out to do to help you on this podcast to get to the next level in every single area of your life. And when you decide to do that, then you are taking steps in the right direction. I tell people all the time, you can be 10 times better. And we use that a lot, and that you can work on being a 10 times better husband, spouse, wife, child, employee, employer, whatever it might be. You can take your leadership to the next level and be 10 times better. The last time we were together, if you watched that, we talked about developing teams and getting the right people around you, and that is so key, that you have to get the right people on your team and hiring the right people. And we talked a lot about hiring character and not talent. And sometimes you're in such need that somebody has the talent there that they need, that you just go and you get the talent, but they didn't have the character to sustain it. Talent can get somebody to that level. Character will sustain them at that level. So making sure that you vet people right, you ask better questions during interviews, that will help you get the right people around you, because nobody gets to where they're going by themselves. You have to have a staff of people. You have to have a team of people. As one guy said, rowing in the same direction. Everybody going the same way. And it doesn't mean that we don't have differences of opinions. Of course we do, because we're individuals. And really, you want to welcome that. You don't want everybody thinking the same way you do, or else they're not needed or you're not needed. You want that diversity. You want those different schools of thought. But it all has to be that we're going in the same direction. How we get there can be different. How we get there can be different methods and different ways, and that's okay, but you got to have everybody going on the same direction. Everybody's got to be cheering for the same team and going forward, right? So I hope you get that and go back and watch that. Today, I want to talk to you for a few minutes about communicating with your team and how to have some better communication going on with your team. I believe that no matter what organization, no matter what level, if you did a survey of the team members and they said, what is one thing that could improve, or name 3 things that could improve on this team, you will invariably get the word communication in the top 3. Most of the time, it's the number one thing that people say that they want. They want better communication on the team. And sometimes that means that's one of those times I've taught you to say this. What does that mean? People say, well, I want better communication. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you know every little detail? You want to know every little detail in the organization? Or does it mean that you just need to be told when somebody's out of town? Or it can mean different things to different people. So you almost have to quantify, what does that even mean to different individuals, which is a great question to ask in a staff meeting. But how do we approach communication? I've been doing this a long time, and I can remember back 30 years ago, people in a staff meeting saying, oh, we need better communication. And I 2 weeks ago, I could have heard the exact same thing at a whole different staff meeting. It's always an issue. Here's one thing that I'm going to give you several points in just a moment, but here's one thing that I would encourage you to do. Get a communication system in place. It might be for your organization. Every organization has its own DNA. So for your organization, it might be text message. For another, it might be pick up the phone and call them. For somebody else, it might be a social media way of communicating to the team. But whatever it is, make it clear to your team, this is what we do. And you get everybody doing the same thing. You have a mess when one team member is texting, one team member is emailing, one team member is picking up the phone, one team member is sending it out on a social media Viber type thing, somebody else is doing Facebook Messenger. It's like there's no cohesion. Get your team operating on one communication venue for the team. Now, you might text somebody individually, and then when you have private conversation, don't put that on the whole team thing. If you need to talk to one person about something, don't include the whole team because it doesn't affect them, and then you get their input. Somebody in my family is on one of those group me type messenger things, and literally I can be around them and their group me messenger is going off 40 or 50 times because everybody is saying something different. Oh, we could do lunch. Well, what do you like for lunch? Well, I like lasagna. Well, I want pizza. Well, I want Chinese food. I want this. And it's like, oh my gosh, make it stop. It's too much. Sometimes it's just too much. Not everybody needs to be in on all those conversations. So anyway, get the tool that works for your organization. Get the team to decide, let's all go all in on this. And whatever it is, make it work. That's one thing you can do, is to get cohesion on the method that you're going to use to communicate information to your team. I think it'll help if you'll just get everybody on at least that page. It's not always the easiest, but at least you can identify that. Let me give you about 7 quick things today that I think will help you at least head in the right direction. When you're communicating with your team, number 1, you need to have empathy with people. The old saying is, I think John Maxwell originally said this, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Have some empathy. People have stories. People have situations. They've got life going on. And if they feel like in the communication that you care about them, that you're genuinely interested in what they're doing, if you will at least begin there and let your team know, hey, I care about what's going on in your life outside of work. You don't have to give me all the details, but I am interested in what's happening. And if you'll have some empathy with your team, that's a great communication thing. Now, here's what will happen sometimes. When you're having that empathy, people will think that, 1, you want to know all the details. 2, they'll try to run you over because they're like, oh, this guy cares, and then he won't care if I go do this because he knows I've got this and that. And well, you know what? Sometimes that just comes with the territory. Because as a leader, you're operating at a higher level many times than what your whole team is. You've got a big picture thought process while they are focused in one area. And that's okay. That's what you want them to do. You want them to be the best in their area while you have a big picture mentality as well. So don't worry about whether they're going to run you over because you showed you cared a little bit or you showed some feelings. It'll be okay. It'll work out. Have the confidence that you can handle it and deal with it. It just comes with leadership. Some people want the title, they just don't want the responsibility. And that's just part of the responsibility. So have empathy with the people that are on your team. Here's something I learned just recently. I thought it was a great statement. Craig Rochelle, who's pastor of Life Church, made this statement. This is number 2. In the organization, trust is given, mistrust is earned. We always say, oh, trust has to be earned. He made this point. He said in his organization, trust is given. When you do the right process of bringing the right people onto your team, you know what you're saying? I trust you. So mistrust has to be earned. You have to mess up to earn the mistrust. You have to make lots of mistakes, and if you lie and you cheat and you do all of that, then you know what? You earn some mistrust. But otherwise, trust is given. I trust you. Let your team know you trust them to handle things. That's why if you hired the right people, if you brought the right people on your team, then act like you made a good decision. If you've got to micromanage them, that might say more about you than it does them. Oh, they're not doing their job. I got to watch over them. I got to do. Well, wait a minute. Let's back that train up a little bit, and maybe you didn't do such a great job in hiring them. If you got to micromanage every single detail, I don't want to micromanage. At my age, I don't want to micromanage anybody. I'm good to handle my own life. But you got to get the right people and then trust them to do it. Let people know that you trust them until they prove you otherwise. And let them do the job. Help them, coach them, work with them, let them know that they've got your support and the tools that they need, but communicate that you trust them. That's a great communication tool. When you are communicating, this is true in any relation. Number 3, you need to listen more than you talk. As leaders, here's a great tool. We need to be quiet. We need to listen more than we talk. What's going on with them? What do they need? How is their department running? I get around so many folks that in meetings I watch, and in particular when I'm not leading it, and people interrupt, and I see salespeople that interrupt their clients. Why would you do that? You're trying to sell them something. Interrupting your client to make a point doesn't make sense. You need to listen more than you talk. You need to have more dialogue than monologue. You ought to write that down. You ought to have more dialogue than monologue. Have conversations. It's not, unless you are specifically doing a training where they're taking notes and all that, in your regular conversation, you need to have more dialogue than monologue. Number 4, you need to let go of your ego in communication. This is shown in how you're talking to people, how you're treating them. So many times you miss what they're saying, or any of us can do it. You miss what people are saying because you're thinking about what your response. Well, how am I going to answer this? What am I going to say? And instead of listening and grasping what they're saying, you're thinking of your response. And don't talk down to people. Don't be condescending to people. That's not necessary that you do that. So make sure that number 4, you're letting go of your ego. Number 5, you need to read people's body language and read between the lines of what's going on in communication. Nonverbal communication is huge. I am in so many sales meetings. Sales has been a huge part of my life, and I've been in probably hundreds of contract negotiations and sales negotiations with people and companies, and I've watched. I've tried to become a student of nonverbal communication, and when you are trying to sell something, you're trying to lead something, and people start folding their arms and doing this and getting scowls on their face, or they're taking deep sighs, you're losing your audience. I pastor a church, and when I look out and people are doing this and they're doing this and they're crossing their arm, they're looking at their watches, it's like, as great as I think I might be preaching, it might be time to wrap it up. So read the body language, pay attention to, and be willing. Let go. If you're not hitting the home run that time, it's okay. Wrap it up. It'll be all right. And work on it and make it better the next time. So watch the body language and read the body language and in the communication tools. Number 6, be more clear. Clarity is a great word. I talk to my staff about that. I'm working on that on a regular basis in my life. Too many times our communication is not clear, and people leave a staff meeting and then they congregate in little groups and they go, what was said? What did he really want? Be clear. Ask questions. Let them repeat back. Now, what did you hear? Don't do it over minor stuff. Don't always say, now, do you understand this? Do you understand? if you're asking people, do they understand on minor points that everybody gets, that's condescending. Instead, if it's a major thing and it's a sales thing or a leadership and you need their feedback, let them repeat back to you. Now, what do you all hear me saying? For one simple reason, you need clarity in that. And then lastly, number 7, be available to the team. Let your team know, hey, you can come talk to me. It doesn't matter. I'm not too busy to talk to you. I want to hear what's going on. Schedule that time. Have that time with your team individually. Find out what's going on with them. How can you help them? Again, let them know you care about what's happening. Be that leader. Communicate. It is not easy. It is something you got to do intentionally all the time. You got to make it work. You got to make sure that you are doing your best to take your communication to the next level. You're helping your team. You're working with them. They know you're on their side. You know you got the right people in your boat, rowing in the same direction, going where you need to go, where you feel the team needs to go. You get them on board. You get that, as John Maxwell said, the law of the buy-in. You get everybody rowing the same direction. I'm telling you, your team can be ready when you communicate effectively to go to the next level. Make sure you contact us, communicate with us. All the information is available to you. We'd love to hear from you. Share this, put it out there as much as you can. Share this out on all the different social media sites and ways to do that. We love working with leaders, coaches, pastors, people in business. We love helping you get your leadership to the next level. So until next month, make sure you're working on it. Take your leadership to the next level. We'll see you next month on Next Level Leadership. Have a great month.